This is a response to Whaddo You Meme's response to Neil deGrasse Tyson's video, A Scientist's View of War. In Neil's original video, he first tries to explain a scientist's role in war. He explains how scientists have gone along with politicians in upscaling war to mutually destructive proportions. Although Whaddo You Meme expresses strong disagreement with Neil's position, they are in more agreement than he realizes. Neil is ultimately saying that people should recognize the good in some form, to scale back from using bad rationality to justify mutual destruction, or mass destruction of any kind. He is critical of belief systems, insofar as fueling poor justifications towards chaos. He does not directly say that he praises belief systems that instill people with ethical tenets, steering us away from such destruction, but he's said that a lot in videos, books, talks, etc.
And I would demonstrate it with experiments and examples. That doesn't work as well when you have belief systems. If you come from a belief system, then what you believe doesn't have the evidence that science would normally require to establish what is objectively true.
He's saying that science is the way that we determine what's objectively true. And at first, that sounds completely reasonable. But there's a massive problem with it. The fact is, that's a belief that science can't prove. Science can test things in the physical world, but it can't prove the beliefs that science is based on, like the pursuit of truth is a good thing.
This is the key point of disagreement. But it turns out, again, you two agree more than you may realize. With the help of Merriam-Webster, any dictionary is good. But let's see what they say about objective versus subjective. First, we have definition 1a, expressing or dealing with facts or conditions as perceived, without distortion, by personal feelings, prejudices, or interpretations. That last word will cause the most trouble because we must interpret things to understand them. So there's no way we can perceive things without interpreting them. It's also this important definition: existing outside the mind, existing in the world. For some time there's been a distinction between the objective and subjective. Here are useful definitions, again from Merriam-Webster, about the subjective: of or relating to the essential being of that which has substance, qualities, attributes, or relations. For 3a, characteristic of or belonging to reality as perceived rather than as independent of mind. Phenomenal. This objective-subjective dichotomy, you might say, it's been the source of debate for some time, as you can easily imagine. Some of you recall Plato's forms and ideas, which were early distinctions between something that appears to be a certain way versus what it really is. And there are famous parables like the ship of Theseus, forcing you to determine what it is about the ship that truly makes it belong to Theseus, and countless counters to philosophical distinctions of phenomena versus noumena, as Kant put it, I believe. The natural observable versus the realm of ideas. This is the place where perception and reality have to meet. And some would argue there's not such a strong distinction between perception and reality as we might want to think. Many of the perceptions are based on mutual agreements, like what are we going to call a river, as opposed to some body of water, some other body of water. To that, there's clearly a distinction between things in the world and our perception of them. These things are independent of any thought. Just because you might use thoughts To understand them does not mean they only exist or only have their attributes because of your thoughts, because of anyone's thoughts. If every human disappeared from the world right now, it would be like the end of 12 Monkeys or The Last of Us without the zombies, where it's just nothing but overgrowth and animals everywhere. So any subjects we're going to bring up will deserve endless debate, because there's no necessarily correct answers. But for objects, there will indeed be specific attributes about them that we should agree on, or just confirm the same plane of reality. Our interpretation of them might differ because we have different minds and experiences, but surely you are interested in reliable methods of interpretation that try to just talk about those things independent of personal feelings, thoughts, or views of religion or philosophy. We should get one thing straight here to avoid any misrepresentation. Neil does not mention Christianity at all. Whaddo You Meme's video shows the one place where Neil talks about religion. That's only because religion necessarily deals with the realm of subjectivity, because religions describe the ideas that constitute their belief system or practice. Religions and their associated belief systems have never been meant to deal with objective analysis, which again is the sole realm of science. Of course, there will be endless debate, as there should be, about when the distinction is not clear, or there must be objective and subjective overlap. Think about how colleges try to categorize fields. They are wise to distinguish between liberal arts and natural sciences. Liberal science is when you start injecting needless confusion and when the fields really need to decide what side they're on. But just think about linguistics, where there has to be some distinction between prescriptive and descriptive grammar, because it is the study of people using language, and also must talk about how so many speakers of the language perceive its ideal form. When Whaddo You Meme says science can't prove that the pursuit of the truth is a good thing, first, this is an odd statement because it is significant that Whaddo You Meme does not refute that science is a reliable way to determine the truth, which again is all that science is for. That's its only purpose, which is very boring but very true. Whether or not it's good to pursue the truth is not up to science, which Neil totally agrees with. That's one of the concepts in the subjective realm that you must determine whether it has value, and you might determine if it should have value for others or if it has intrinsic value.
He's saying belief systems can't spread through reason alone, so eventually they resort to corrosion, force, and violence. But Christianity directly refutes this claim. At the very heart of Christianity is a person who didn't use corrosive violence, he submitted to it. He commanded his followers to love their enemies and pray for their persecutors.
This is where you must slow down and determine if you really mean for the religious beliefs of Christianity to counter claims that are supported by science. You make a case for how Christianity directly encourages peace, de-escalation, etc. by relying on the story of Jesus. With luck, those stories will inspire people to not go so far as to kill others to settle their grievances, which is a concept that the Christians directly participating in warfare do not agree with, not too unlike Muslims who serve in the armed forces despite other Muslims who believe they shouldn't do so. Again, please understand that Neil welcomes all instances of Christians or anyone else with any beliefs supporting science, especially in the name of peace, spreading the good word, spreading good vibes, in general, and all that. So if you and the Christians you know are not stifling scientific pursuits And if anything, they are promoting them so that you can continue to understand the objective truth that I hope only amplify your Christian mission of peace. If you are doing that, then there's nothing to argue about. He's really not trying to pick a fight with Christianity, so there's no need to defend any particular beliefs here.
And the implication is clear. Scientific thinking can reduce violent wars because it resolves disagreement rationally. Now, that might sound convincing on the surface until we consider the fact that some of the most destructive ideologies in the modern world didn't come from religious beliefs at all. In fact, ironically, they came from movements that claim to be grounded in science.
For Whaddo You Meme, the implication is clear that for Neil, science will lead to peace and religion will lead to war. But Whaddo You Meme is underplaying the first half of Neil's video where he clearly states that science has been a catalyst for war and scientists need to be aware of this.
Scientists have historically been complicit in the waging of war. Governments, be they warmongering or otherwise, have always reached for the ingenuity and creativity of scientists and engineers of all stripes. You know, where do you get chemical weapons from? You go to the chemist. Bio-warfare, you go to the biologist.
Neil is only saying that irrational belief systems will confuse, whereas positive belief systems, whether they be labeled Christian or anything else, that support wanting to know the truth, will help us understand the truth.
But science doesn't tell you what to value, it only tells you what is.
It can only tell you what is, as in, what is the truth? Because that statement makes me think you agree that science is a reliable way of determining the truth, which is all scientists ask you to acknowledge. Yes, so then from there we must determine what we value. It is possible to evaluate belief systems themselves and determine if the ideal peaceful Christian vision is being realized or not. Again, not needing to rely on Christianity, just the peace. However you want to justify it. It is possible to see peace as a good thing by itself that does not require an elaborate religion or system of guilt with sin.
Because when you truly believe that your salvation came as a free gift that you did nothing to earn, then you can't look down on the person next to you with any degree of self-righteousness.
Those are very positive beliefs that should help the pursuit of peace and truth that Neil has never and will never refute.
We can see every human, no matter how flawed, as made in the image of God. And that's the world that Tyson wants, and it's also what Christianity has been pointing toward all along. Because if the real problem is sin, then the only real solution is Christ.
Oh, if only it were that easy.